Welcome to Executive Insights. I'm Nasheen Liu, partner with the IT Media Group, a CIO-centric media company. My guest today is Henry Key, Chief Technology Officer with Home Trust. In this episode, Henry shares key takeaways and lessons learned from their 3-year digital transformation journey and what his priorities are for the next 3 years. We also explore key topics such as talent and Agile. Lastly, Henry reflects on his career in tech and the advice he would give to his younger self. Hi, Henry. It's so great to see you. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, Nasheen. It's a pleasure to be here. Excellent opportunity to speak to you.
Yeah, Henry, last time when we spoke, you were just completing a 3-year digital transformation journey, and we're embarking on the next 3-year plan at Home Trust. What are your key takeaways and lessons learned from the past 3 years?
Well, that's a great question. It's been a long journey. It's been 3 years, and with, as you stated, it was a transformation. When we took a look at our technology stack at Home Trust, we realized that we weren't built to scale, meaning that to take on new technologies, to be able to take the benefits of the technologies that exist. So when we went through this, it was a large undertaking, and why it was spanned three years is we replaced or upgraded about 95% of our technology stack. And because of that, if I had some takeaways and lessons learned as a result of all of the work that we did a lot of planning, but I think there could have been more planning in it. And there's always the argument that you don't overplan, just get through it. But because of all of the things that we did, we replaced our core banking system. We went back to standard on that. We decoupled a lot of capabilities. And because of the result of all of that work, dependencies were very big. And once you have these dependencies, I think it's extremely important on any kind of large transformation that you understand what the priorities and the sequencing of what you need to do from a technology replacement, and understand the dependencies. And then with that, one of the things that we didn't do as well, mainly because we didn't think COVID was going to happen. I don't think anyone anticipated this. Workforce labor contingencies. It's again, we ran projects in a typical fashion. We hired system integrators. We hired people internally to work on these transformations. But with COVID, that added a huge layer of complication. And those complications, well, resulted in projects running a little bit later, challenges on getting work completed, and really just in general of morale as well, because again, as COVID hit, there was a lot of anxiety and stress amongst the staff. So I would look at ways to, looking back there, is that we'd have things already set up for maybe additional consulting agencies, looking at where within the organization we would have been able to draw some more support for the initiatives. But again, that would be more planning and risk mitigation. And then I say the last piece for that is communicate. Any kind of transformation requires a lot of communication. And I think over communication was absolutely needed for this. I think we did a great job of communicating to the organization, but in the same light, I think there were opportunities that we could have done more. And anytime from technology standpoint, I think technology is the easy part. It's just really coordinating the people, making sure people understand what's developing and what's going to change, really helps transformation become successful.
Yeah, those are some really valuable lessons learned there. And I think to your point, yes, there's, important to have a plan, but there's so many things that are beyond our control. And the pandemic has certainly taught us that. So now that we're in the present time, and what are your priorities for the next 3 years?
Yeah. We're just kind of coming to the end of this. We went live with our core banking system about 6 weeks ago, and we made a press announcement on that as well. Now we're kind of in this, I wouldn't say a lull, but post implementation support and hypercare activities. Now we're thinking about the next few years. And because of this transformation and because we took on a lot of this new tooling, I think there's 2 key things that we need to focus on. One is we spent 3 years building. Now we need to spend some time on the run. the processes that we had in the past on running the legacy environments also need to be modernized, and working with if there's synergies between applications that we need to make sure that we align processes with, and becoming more effective in the delivery. Again, this transformation was supposed to help us expedite our delivery of more technologies and capabilities to the organization. And for us to do that, we need to align ourselves with those technologies and make sure our processes are sound. So a lot of effort will be taken in the next couple of years in regards to that. But the second one is really about data and analytics. I know from all the systems that we have created, there is a lot of potential there. There's value in the data that we have, and we haven't really explored all of that yet. We modernized our whole data and analytics platform. And if we weren't to leverage that capability and start to become an organization that can help democratize data and have it being used inside of the organization, and removing barriers for that data, we'd be remiss to have these opportunities presented to them. So there's going to be a huge focus in that in the next 2 to 3 years. Of course, that's starting right away. And the last one is information security. And that's because we're in a financial institution. That is always at the top of our list. And again, nothing new to add there. Everyone knows that the money needs to be spent there, especially around with the incidents in the Ukraine and with COVID and everyone working from home. There's a different level of rigor that we need to look at around how information is accessed. And it kind of couples with the data and analytics. We want to democratize data and be able to provide for people at the same light. We want to be able to protect it in the same way that protects our institution. So I'd say out of that, there's two main ones, but the third one is more of a given.
Yeah, excellent point. Now that you've modernized 95% of your core delivery capabilities, focusing on the run piece and really taking the data and insight-driven approach, and also keeping information security in mind at all times, I would imagine a well thought out workforce and talent strategy is also a key success factor to the next leg of the digital transformation journey. I know there are a myriad of challenges confronting a technology leader today, but talent acquisition and retention remains to be a top one. So how would you tackle this challenge, especially from a leadership and culture perspective?
Yeah, I wish I knew the concrete answer to this one. It's one of those things that we saw the great resignation in 2021. Everyone's now looking at reflecting on their lives, and they're working from home or hybrid or into the office and making decisions based on these things. We ran into quite a bit of a challenge during the COVID period, and the skills that we had historically retained. And mainly because being a SMB, we're not as big as the big banks, and we're not small in the sense of convenience stores as such. But from the same, attracting people to our organization becomes a little bit difficult. We can't offer necessarily all of the different greater pay and greater opportunities that the larger institutions have. But in the same light, we offer something that they don't. We have an opportunity for our people to contribute to our culture, our direction, and learn. And it's one of those things for us that we need to emphasize our culture more, and what we do as a small financial institution. We do have a strong culture that was leading up to COVID, because people were always in the office and interacting with each other. Attrition was extremely low. Once COVID hit, I think there was a level of separation between the employees and the institution. So now there's less of a desire to stay with the things that they're detached from. So with that, we spent a lot of time on online types of activities, trying to get people engaged with the work, getting them involved, having our leaders work with employees to look at their career path, things, what they desire, where their pain points are. We tried every avenue just to try to retain it. And we did stem some of the loss, but again, it's really hard to compete where salaries are astronomical in certain areas, and in opportunities. And if we heard most of the people, is mainly due to those two factors. We are changing our method and our approach to talent acquisition. Again, we were always looking for very skilled. So some of the opportunities that we are looking at is hiring young talent, students out of university, the ability to grow them and educate them and provide them the skills. Historically, that's proven very well for us. I mean, it's provided longevity for some of the employees. We still have employees here over the past, this 5 to 6 years where a very skilled or a professional individual, 2 to 3 years. So, we get almost double the amount of time that the students stay with us. So those are some of the things that we are looking at. There's also, as I mentioned, a strong emphasis on our culture. We are very more family-like, and our CEO is very in tune with what the organization is doing and puts in a lot of effort to keep in some of the things that we used to do, Christmas parties, kids' Christmas parties, summer at Wonderland. So all of these things that a lot of companies took away, we still have, which again, these are things that we have to be better at promoting when we look to hire and retain talent.
Yeah, well said. I agree. Building a culture of human connections and purpose is so important these days in a hybrid world. I want to explore another topic that's of high interest and relevance to our CIO community, and that is creating an agile operating model. Agile as a methodology has been around for quite some time, and oftentimes the word of agile comes up in conversations as a buzzword. I want to get your perspective. What does agile mean to you, and how do you apply the framework to derive the best benefits for your business?
Yeah, that's excellent question. And in the context of we brought, as a part of transformation, and buzzword is right. And I think in the organization, if you go out to your peers in industry, everyone talks about how great their agile practices and that we do projects with an agile discipline. We also we embarked on that path when we started the transformation. I think as we went through this journey, one of the things that were very clear to us is that it's not just doing things quickly. And I think there's a misnomer in industry that agile just means everything's faster, which is absolutely wrong. Of course, if you do it right, your iterations and releases become very quick, and you are able to course correct quickly so that you can get the products and the desired outcomes. I believe, like, if we were to do this all over again, and again, our practices have matured, but it's a lot of lessons learned along the way, is that we have to be very clear to the roles and responsibilities and how this framework changes for the people that are involved, and why we do certain aspects of stand-ups and retrospectives and backlog grooming, all of the things that you would do from a project perspective that says, here, this is how we run Agile. I would look for a project that actually is conducive to Agile, instead of just trying every project and putting out and saying a blanket Agile across this. There are certain projects that are more conducive to it. And if you take a look at projects that have iterations and have releases that are required, and there's continuous improvement to them, these are ones that you want to focus on in Agile space. And then get an expert to come in here and teach everybody how to do that properly and live the life cycle of that project. And then from there, organically grow that into other projects and look for opportunities to do that. I 100% agree that there's a lot of benefit to it. But if you don't do it right, it causes a lot of chaos. And it also, you don't deliver as effectively as you want. I mean, there's terms going out there they call WAGILE, which is like waterfall / agile. And I don't agree with that. If you're going to do it that way, you might as well just have run it waterfall and just run the projects. And waterfall has its benefits, and there's a lot of negativity towards it. But if you do your requirements and you run the projects according to that methodology, we've been doing it for years. You just need the time and place, and also the level of focus into Agile to be able to do that effectively for the organization and bring the value for that methodology into it.
Great perspective. I really appreciate it. I can't believe time is flying. So we're now down to the last question. I usually reserve the last question for self-reflection. So here it goes. I've had the privilege of speaking with many senior technology leaders in your shoes. And what I find fascinating is people arrive at this position from all different paths. And, a couple weeks ago, I just spoke with a CIO who's had a degree in literature and worked for 5 different industries that had nothing to do with technology and eventually arrived. And what I find interesting is you've been in technology all your career since after the university. And on the topic of personal development, if you reflect on your career, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, maybe there's quite a few things I would say to my younger self. When I got into IT, many years ago, I won't say how many years, but realizing how much IT changes was something that I don't think people do understand now. And I think the level of change and how fast paced IT is and the new technologies that are, you can't learn everything at once. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of people starting off in industry. You should focus in an area and then expand out. And I don't mean to say that you can't go out and challenge yourself. And my own personal goals was always to challenge myself, get out of your comfort zone. If you run the same path every day, you'll never see the opportunities. Those, for me, were there. But in the same light, the pace of change was something that people need to reflect on and say that is this a career for me? IT creates a lot of value and a sense of pride in learning and being able to provide the necessary skills to the organization. But at the end of the day, the pace is something that people need to adjust to. But I'd say the most important thing that I would say to my younger self is that relationships with individuals are extremely important. Your career is based on people that you know and the people that you work with. You spend more time awake with your colleagues than you do with your family. So as you're going through life and going through your work career, you have to invest in that. And in the same way that you would invest in your skills, because that's a portion of it, your opportunities don't come without having relationships with people around you. And with that comes respect. I think that's something that, as a leader, you have to respect everybody. And it's not the fact that you're in a leadership role and they need to respect you. It goes both ways. And for you to build strong teams and individuals that will work with you and support you and deliver on massive projects and work that you're trying to get done, you need to have that respect, a mutual respect. And I think with that, because it's so fast paced, you have that respect and relationships. Those are the people you spend the time with. And what better way to run through your career without having a few laughs with them along the way? And I think for me, it's a skills and people thing all the way through. And you can't neglect either one of them as you run through your career.
Great advice, skills and relationships. And I always say that technology is the bridge between what is and what could be. So it's a fascinating and exciting industry to be in for sure. Thank you so much, Henry, for this great conversation. I really enjoyed it and really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Nasheen.
You've been watching another episode of Executive Insights by the IT Media Group. I'm Nasheen Liu. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please check out other content on our YouTube channel, including CIO roundtable conversations and executive interviews. And don't forget to subscribe.